In this video, I'm going to be testing Doom's new ability, Power Block, against all the heroes in the game. I'm going to be testing their primary fire, secondary fire abilities, and ultimate. So yeah, let's get right into it. You can block D.Va's primary fire. You can block D.Va's flight damage. You can block D.Va's rockets. You can even block D.Va's ultimate, but it won't save anyone that's standing behind you. You can even block D.Va's remake. You can block Doom's primary fire. You could block Doom's slam damage. You can block Doom's ultimate. For some reason, you can't block the damage from Doom's punch. You can block ORISA primary fire. You can block ORISA's javelin, but it will still stun you. You can block ORISA's javelin spin, but it will still push you back. When ORISA starts her ultimate, it does damage over time, which you can block, and you can also block the moment she lands her javelin down into the ground. You can block Rein's fire strike. You can block Rein's primary fire. You cannot block Rein's charge, but you can block Rein's boop damage. You can block Earth shatter damage, but you will still get shattered. And you can also block the up close shatter. You could block Hog's primary fire and secondary fire. You could block Hog's hook damage, but it will still hook you. You could block Hog's ultimate. You could block Sigma's primary fire. You can block Sigma's rock, but it still stuns you. You could block Sigma's initial liftoff with his ultimate, but you can't block it when it sends you back down. You can block Winston's primary fire. You can block Winston's new secondary fire. You can block Winston's leap. You can block Winston's ultimate, but for some reason it doesn't deal damage and you don't get charged. You can block Ball's primary fire. You could block Ball's roll damage. You could block Ball's pile driver. You can block Ball's ultimate. You could block Zarya's primary fire. You could block Zarya's secondary fire. Zarya's ultimate has a small damage over time, and you can also block that damage. You could block ASHE's scoped in shots and hipfire shots. You could block the initial exploding damage and the damage over time. Even if you get hit by her TNT and you didn't block, you can activate your block to block the damage over time. You could block ASHE's shotgun ability. You could block the Bob's knockup. You could block the Bob's primary fire. You could block Bastion's primary fire. You could block the Bastion's secondary fire, including the splash damage. You could block Bastion's turret form. You can block Bastion's ultimate. You can block Cassidy's primary fire. You can block Cassidy's secondary fire. You can block the damage if it sticks on you, but not the explosion. But you can block it if it hits a wall. You can block Cass's ultimate. You can block Echo's primary fire. You can block Echo's Sticky's direct impact and explosion effect. You can block Echo's splash damage on her Stickies. You can block Echo's beam. You can block Genji's primary fire and secondary fire. You can block Genji's dash. For some reason you cannot block Genji's ultimate. He deals no damage to you and you don't get any charge. You can block any deflected damage towards you. You could block Hanzo's primary fire. You could block Hanzo's storm arrows, including if they bounce off of walls. You could block Sonic arrow, but you will have walls on you. You could block the initial ultimate arrow. You could block the dragon. You can use it to get a free charge. You could block Junkrat's primary fire. You can block Junkrat mines. For some reason, you can block Junkrat trap. You can block Junkrat's ultimate. You can block Mei's primary fire. You can block Mei's secondary fire. You can block Mei's ultimate, but you'll still get frozen. You can block PHARAH's primary fire, including the splash damage. You can't really block the boot. You can block PHARAH's ultimate. You can block Reaper's primary fire. You can block Reaper's ultimate. You can block SOJOURN's primary fire. You can block SOJOURN's secondary fire. You can block SOJOURN's nade. You can block SOJOURN's ultimate. You can block Soldier's primary fire. You can block Soldier's helix rockets. You can also block the splash damage. You can block Soldier's ultimate. You can block Sombra's primary fire. When Sombra hacks you, she deals more damage to you, but you can also block that extra damage. EMP takes a certain percentage of your health away, but it does not give you block charge. You can block SYMMETRA's primary fire. You can block SYMMETRA's secondary fire. You can block SYMMETRA's turrets. You can block TORBJORN's primary fire. You can block Torb's secondary fire. You cannot block Torb's hammer, it deals no damage and you don't get charge. You can block Torb's turret, and if you block every single bullet, you'll get a fully charged punch. If you're on top of Torb's ultimate, you can use your block. You can block the initial impact of Torb's ultimate, if it mattered. You can block Tracer's primary fire. You can block the initial stick of Pulse Bomb, but not the explosion. For some reason, you cannot block the Pulse Bomb if it's attached to the wall, but you can block it if it's on the floor. You can block Widow's primary fire. You can block Widow's scoped in shot. You can walk into a Widow poison when using your block. If you happen to get poisoned, you can use your block to stop the damage over time. You could block the scoped in Ana shots. You could block the hip fire Ana shots. You could block the damage on nade, but you'll still be antied. You can also block the splash damage of nade. You could block Ana's sleep, but you will still get slept. Ana's sleep does 5 damage, so you can get a powered up punch if you're 5 damage away from getting a powered up punch. You could block Baptiste's primary fire, and through his ultimate. You cannot block Briggs' primary fire. You can block Briggs' whip. You can block shield bash. You can block Lucio's primary fire. You can block Lucio's boot. You can block Mercy's primary fire. You can block Moira's secondary fire. You can block Moira's orb, but it's very inconsistent and kind of buggy. You can block Moira's ultimate. You can block Zen's primary fire. If you're discorded, Zen only needs to hit 1 primary fire for your block to get charged up. You can block Zen's secondary fire. No matter who you play, you cannot block anybody's melee. So now I'm going to be demonstrating how block works. It's basically like a Brigitte shield. That's like the best way you could really think of it. It's not specifically shooting the gauntlet, it's just like a whole frontal shield. You can hide your head hitbox with your gauntlet. Looking up does not change the direction of the shield, unfortunately. I think it should, so hopefully they introduce something like that. So if you're down below and you're blocking and you're looking straight up at somebody, it's not going to do anything. So looking up or down doesn't change the direction your shield is facing, but if you look down, you will expose your character's head, and what this does is it gives you more potential of taking more incoming damage, and what this allows you to do is to build up your charge even faster. Just keep in mind that all of this footage was from the closed beta, so you never know if things get changed, you don't know if they're going to get buffed, nerfed, fixed, or any of that stuff, so always keep your eye out on the patch notes. I also stream on Twitch, and I have some other socials if you guys want to follow, like Twitter and TikTok. I'll link all that stuff in the description.
That's purple. Oh, break. Yeah.